Hello, people. One thing I've had to accept is that I won't be getting a haircut anytime soon. And even though my hair can get unwieldy even without a pandemic, I had at least planned on getting one in the relatively near future. Uh, but evidently that ain't happening. So, one fun thing that you might want to track as these streams progress is maybe just sort of observe how much more out of control my hair gets. Because, to be honest, it's the furthest thing from my mind to say, oh, I gotta go comb my hair before I get on my dumb little YouTube live stream. No way. I'd rather just not do the live stream. Um, so, obviously, it's almost impossible to follow everything that's going on with this stuff. Of course, I have a focus on the political and electoral dimension. And yesterday, we had a few presidential primaries. Illinois, Florida, Arizona. Now, Florida and Arizona have transitioned increasingly to a vote by mail system. So, in Florida in particular, a significant percentage of the votes had already been cast prior to yesterday, and less and less people are now going out on election day to vote in person. So even though the primary still should have been postponed because they should not have encouraged anyone to vote in person yesterday. At least there's a kernel of logic there which says we've had early voting underway for weeks. In Florida, there was actually a law change since 2016 so that a larger pool of voters were automatically mailed ballots for the primary election, which is why you saw turnout actually increase marginally in Florida, even though we're in a pandemic. It's because there have been so many votes already cast prior to the pandemic really outbreaking. Um, but Illinois, in particular, which does not have as a robust early voting or vote by mail system, Illinois is probably going to now be culpable, meaning the Illinois state government, for greatly exacerbating the spread of this pandemic because I got many reports of people packed into tiny little polling places, standing online for hours. In Florida as well. I mean, it's actually somebody who is a Biden supporter, believe it or not, messaged me from Boynton Beach saying, that their ordinary polling spot was shut down without much of an explanation, and they figured out how to get to the Board of Elections office for the county. And of course, how is your average voter going to know to go to the Board of Elections office? They don't even know what the Board of Elections is or that it exists, much less what its address is. So that shows you why Florida turnout, while it was up because of the early voting, it was not up that significantly compared to 2016. I think if we had no coronavirus, turnout would have been continued to be extremely increased across the board, including in Florida. Whereas in Illinois, it was down by a sizable percentage. And let me just find you the exact percentage because, of course, I have it in front of me and I can pull it up momentarily on my computer. Okay, so it was about a 23% decrease in voter turnout in Illinois compared to 2016. Now, of course, Bernie got wiped out in the Illinois primary this year. And although he lost the Illinois primary in 2016, he lost it, but he still had a respectable showing. And I can give you the numbers. So Bernie got 36.1% of the vote yesterday, and in 2016 in Illinois, he got 48.6% of the vote. So that's a decrease in the percent of the vote that he received, and his raw vote total also went down in Illinois by about 400 plus thousand votes. Which, there's a variety of explanations for that. Decreased turnout, yes. But also it's consistent with nationwide trends as to Bernie's collapse in support in key demographics, such as rural voters, quote unquote moderate voters, although I hate that categorization, etc. But there's simply no argument for why that Illinois primary in particular should have been held yesterday. Turnout went way down, even though turnout's been up across the board everywhere else, including in states that adjoin Illinois. So there's no logical reason why it would have fallen off so precipitously in Illinois, except for the pandemic, where they're shutting down polling places. There was mass confusion as to whether the vote was still happening or not, because it had been canceled in Ohio. And actually in Ohio, it wasn't even straightforward as what was happening there, because it was canceled, and then a judge intervened and ordered the primary to keep going, and then the health department director issued an order closing all the gates, all the polling places. So it's just a total mess. And of course, the voters are the ones who suffer, because if you had a immune deficiency, or if you're older, why in God's name would you risk going out to a densely packed voting site yesterday anywhere in Illinois? It's madness. Really, nobody should have gone out, because as we're now being constantly told, and which should be getting through to people but apparently isn't, is that younger people are just as afflicted by coronavirus, meaning they're just as likely to become carriers of it. And actually, a greater percentage of them than we previously might have thought have gotten critically ill from coronavirus. So as you see the numbers of reported cases go up, I think it's going to probably become evident to people that your age doesn't protect you necessarily from this virus. Yeah, if you're old and frail and immunocompromised, are you going to be at a greater risk? Of course. But, viruses, and I'm not an epidemiologist, right? But this is what I've been told by people who are actually smarter on this subject and more knowledgeable than I am. The way viruses interact with your body is dependent on your DNA, right? Or you're dependent on your genetic makeup. So if you have a certain protein or lack of a protein, then the virus can interface with it in a way that could uniquely damage you, or uniquely let you off the hook, in that it's not a severe problem for you. But you don't know. I don't know. We don't know what exactly could make a given person especially susceptible to an egregious reaction to this virus. So, yeah. So now I got an asshole in the comments praising me, and I get this all the time, for being a voice of reason during Russiagate, where I'm losing my mind over coronavirus. I'm sorry. If you think that there's any comparability between Russiagate and coronavirus, you are just dangerously idiotic. There is no comparison whatsoever. Russiagate was a manufactured conspiracy theory on the part of the CIA and FBI that was hysterically wielded as a political weapon by shrieking liberals and some left-wingers in the media. and the evidentiary basis for Russiagate was nil. We have an evidentiary basis for understanding the threat of coronavirus. You moron. If I hear one more time that Russiagate, yeah, I'm talking to you, Kevin Burger King. Listen up, idiot. If you think that there's this vast conspiracy, vast global conspiracy in Italy, in Iran, in France, everywhere, apparently, to mobilize fear of coronavirus and crash the economy specifically to damage Trump, you are delusional. Please sign off this chat. I don't even want your super chat money. Go away. Go meditate. Go, I don't know, pray. Do something which could make you think a little more clearly about the situation. I have people in my immediate social networks who have symptoms of coronavirus and can't get tested, don't know what to do. And you know what viral means, right? Viral isn't just a term to describe memes on the internet. The genesis of the term viral is that it increases in volume exponentially. And yeah, I am mad online because I'm sick of people self-deluding. I do not suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Okay? If I suffered from Trump derangement syndrome, I wouldn't have written about 10 billion tweets and done 10 billion videos and written 10 billion articles about the chronically exaggerated Trump hysteria that has actually damaged our broader political psyche and lessened our ability to actually grapple rationally with a real threat like a global pandemic. So that's right, Kevin Burger King. Shut your damn mouth. I am mad. The only thing that's funny about you is your stupid goddamn username. Idiot. And now I lost my train of thought talking about Illinois. Okay, so we had a decrease in turnout in Illinois, right? And what was gained by holding that primary yesterday? I don't really even buy the explanation that the DNC was dead set on coronating Biden. I guess that might have influenced it to some extent, but Biden was going to be coronated anyway. I mean, don't fool yourself. Biden was going to steamroll through these last primaries. The nomination is sealed, except for if Biden actually contracts coronavirus or is otherwise physically incapacitated. There is no possible way that Bernie can make up these margins. The election in 2020 is nowhere near as close as in 2016, and it wasn't even particularly close in 2016, although Bernie was actually, he was alive for a while, in part because the biggest primary was toward the end, which was California. So the working theory in 2016 in the Bernie campaign was that, maybe Bernie can actually win California in June, then he has a plausible claim to the nomination. Well, that's not the case this time. They decided to cram California and Texas together on the same day on Super Tuesday. Bernie didn't win California by a big enough margin, and he might have even lost California outright if there wasn't such prolonged early voting in the state. So what was the point of it yesterday? I mean, I don't think most Bernie people are going to regard the outcome yesterday as legitimate, even though, again, Biden would have won regardless. Because, and the thing is, Biden's margins probably would have been much higher had there been no pandemic, because who is least likely to go out and vote in person as a result of the coronavirus risk? Obviously, older people who skew to Biden. So if anybody was disadvantaged by coronavirus yesterday, it was Biden. So that's why I don't want to hear any more of these kooky, idiotic delegate scenarios where people are proclaiming that Bernie has a reasonable chance to win a majority of delegates. No, given the current situation, he doesn't. But, yeah, you can't 100% definitively conclude that the nomination process is over because it's literally not over. And we're in a period of seismic political and economic and even health shifts. So it's very possible that Biden, an older man, has some kind of illness. It's maybe associated with coronavirus. I don't know. I'm not wishing that on anybody, but I'm saying he's a high risk. He's in the high risk group as a 77-year-old, as is Bernie. Um, so I'm not going to foreclose on the possibility of anything. I'm just saying on the current trajectory, without one of them dropping dead, the nomination is over, and you see that demonstrated by the Bernie campaign taking down all their digital advertising today, which is fine. People sometimes ask me, "Oh, should I continue giving to Bernie?" No, I don't think so. I mean, I think they got more than enough money. They didn't spend it properly. I've heard a lot of things that I will be coming out with soon. I've just been so distracted with the coronavirus stuff. It's been hard to kind of settle the mind and focus on stuff that I had been focusing on pre-coronavirus becoming the dominant issue. But one of those things that I am focusing on will come out eventually was the dubious ways in which the Bernie campaign has spent its money. And if you think I'm just speculating about that stuff, no. People in the Bernie campaign talk to me. People in other campaigns talk to me. You might be surprised. You might think I'm a total schmuck and nobody takes me seriously. But I actually do get a lot of information from unexpected sources. In the military, in business, elsewhere. So I'm not just talking out of my ass most of the time. Sometimes I do talk out of my ass. Who doesn't? But, I try to stay grounded in empirical reality, and not just spout off like your run-of-the-mill YouTubers who think that they could just, opine from on high about any topic under the sun, make definitive proclamations about stuff, and then their commenters just, jam the like button frantically, like, oh my God, this 20-year-old on YouTube named Progressive something, he's got to be right. He's a genius. He must have like this incredible political science background. He must have a teleporter where he can zoom to the future in November and tell us what the election outcome is going to be. Unbelievable. I don't know how this idiot got such incredible insight into the nature of our political system, but he did. I mean, he's got a YouTube channel with like 18,000 subscribers, so he must be brilliant. That's how YouTube works. I'm not saying everybody has to be a journalist. I'm not saying I'm an even particularly good journalist, but at least I've done it. At least I've written for publications across the political spectrum, done actual reporting, gotten documents, sources, gone in person to many events, tried to experience the real world to kind of deepen and broaden my understanding of U.S. politics. Where you have these knuckleheads sitting on YouTube, having their little software up where they can show you their computer screen, and they go, blah, 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 Elizabeth Warren must endorse Bernie, or some crap. And somehow, like, people freak out, and they anoint them like brain genius political experts. It's just amazing. I don't know. I'm going crazy here. I'm not going crazy. I'm actually fine. Ironically, my typical daily schedule is not especially interrupted by this quarantine. I work from home almost all the time, except if I'm out doing an event, or like when I was in New Hampshire for 6 weeks. Was it 6 weeks? Yeah, it was 6 weeks or something. So, I'm not changing up what I do, except I'm not walking to like a bagel store every day. And I'm a little more nervous about getting food delivered, although I did get it today because guess what? I ran out of groceries and I don't want to go to the grocery store. Yeah, I'm taking extra precautions. I'm being extra paranoid because I think that's warranted. Go read the studies about how it's actually morally incumbent on you as a younger person to be extra paranoid and to even take precautions that seem excessive. That's what I'm doing. Not just for my own health, which of course is a concern, but for the health of society. So that's what I'm doing. So today, I did. So I first I placed a big grocery delivery order, but you can't get it until next Tuesday. So I'm like, okay. The only thing I have left is like 2 things of like microwavable soup, and some frozen vegetable items that I bought actually a long time ago and never bothered eating and still don't really want to eat. So, but I'm sure I will force myself to end up eating them eventually. So I was thinking, okay, what should I do? I'm not going to go out to the store. My grocery is not going to arrive until Tuesday. So what I did was I just placed a big order for delivery through Uber Eats for like a couple days worth of meals. It was like extremely expensive, but what am I going to do? Anyway, it's probably a good idea to help local restaurants at this point anyway, so I was fine with it. Um, so I just ordered a bunch of meals to save up until next Tuesday from a local restaurant. And, I have been dealing with a little bit of anxiety. I like woke up yesterday feeling short of breath. Not in a major way, but definitely noticeably short of breath just compared to my typical state. So of course I immediately assumed the worst, figured I have coronavirus, I'm going to die. Um, and but over the day got a little better. I just breathed, and by last night I was basically fine. Woke up today and was fine. So probably anxiety, but I wanted to give myself a little bit of an anxiety indulgence. So part of what I ordered today was this gigantic platter of just humongous, fluffy, out of control pancakes that I poured on to, and I stopped. I don't vape anymore. I stopped. Um, and I never really used tobacco. Anyway, so I just dumped the entire containers of butter and syrup onto those pancakes, baby, and just scarfed them down like a disgusting fat slob. Didn't care. Just violently mauled the pancakes. Had some egg frittata thing on the side. Wolfed that down violently. Even had some ham and bacon that I just gorged and just stuck right down my throat like a madman. And that's how I dealt with the anxiety because I don't have any drugs right now. And after that, got just kind of a food coma, had to lie down, 2 hour nap. And you know what? That was, I think, a justified way to cope with the anxiety, and I feel better. So, if you do feel anxious about this, I mean, I don't know how you could not be anxious if you're following the online news. I think one of the reasons why old people, mostly conservative old people, but not exclusively, have been reluctant to actually recognize the gravity of this is because they don't really follow news as I and maybe you do, where we're on Twitter all day, we're on YouTube, we're getting actually reliable sources. We're getting, scientists and medical journal authors telling us what's happening. Uh, and the trajectory that we're on right now, how could it not produce anxiety? It would seem odd if it didn't. So if you are at all feeling anxious, I sympathize with you. Hopefully we can get through it together. I'll do the streams. Try to keep an eye on the political stuff. Obviously, there were rumors earlier today, if you saw that Bernie was dropping out, but it turned out to be a junk story, of course. No, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does probably suspend his campaign in a week or so. Like I said, he ended his digital advertising. Um, and, I don't like the idea of continuing to solicit donations from people at this point, especially because he got so much money already on reserve and they did not use it properly in the ways that it need to be used. And that story will come out soon if I have anything to say about it. I mean, I honestly just have to figure out a routine where um, I just tune out of coronavirus updates and focus on other things for at least like an hour or two a day because it's just not a healthy dynamic that I'm in the throes of now, and I accept that and I agree with that. But at the same time, it's just crazy. I mean, there's such a constant inflow of just insane information. I don't know how you turn away. Um, the entire country shut down. The entire world is shutting down. Are you kidding me? It's like beyond belief. Um, so anyway, maybe I should get into a computer game or something. I mean, it is like if you turn this into a movie, it would be too far fetched. I think. Um, I mean, the entire Bay Area on lockdown. I'm assuming New York City is going to be on lockdown within a couple days at least. Within a couple days at minimum. Somebody said start a gaming channel. I don't really game anymore. I was a gaming maniac in my teens. Um, I did play Fortnite for the first time a couple months ago, and on my second game, I won the battle royale. Literally playing on PlayStation 4 or whatever. But maybe I should get into gaming. I mean, I no, I just couldn't like. I just feel it's a waste of time though. I mean, I'm sure I would enjoy it. There was a time when the Red Dead Redemption game came out where I was actually genuinely tempted to get a new PlayStation and just for that game. But I have so much to do anyway that the idea of wasting like 4 hours a day playing some game is just not a good use of my time. Maybe if I could like mo- uh, institute a strict limit where I play like an hour every 3 days or something, that might make sense. But I don't know. I don't even have a TV right now. Um, I'm not saying that just to be cool. I just don't have a TV because I don't use it that much. The only thing I would use a TV for really is to watch live sports, and live sports aren't even on right now. All right, let me see if I missed any super chats here. Ay, 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 ay. I'm not sure I did. Somebody, I'm not really a sports guy, but like I do like I follow the NBA somewhat closely. I mean, I haven't really been following it that closely this season, but there have been years where I was a pretty avid NBA follower. Where I could name you who the assist leader was, and that kind of thing. And it's sort of interested in the analytics aspect of NBA, more so than other sports. So there's a podcast called Dunked On, DUNC, Dunked On Basketball Podcast. These two like analytics guys just talk about the really uh, minute aspects of the statistical side of NBA, and it's like the polar opposite of what you'd get in terms of commentary from ESPN. Pardon whatever that show is. Oops, the show that's with Stephen A. Smith or whatever. Um, yes, listen to that, but like I can't even watch that on TV right now. Nor could I attend a game, which I've been planning on doing. So I don't want to say I'm a sports guy. I mean, right now, I'll go to a game every now and then if I have an opportunity. Whether it's baseball or whatever else. Uh, but when I was a kid, I was definitely way into sports and video games. But now I'm not a kid, so my emphases shift over time, which I think is healthy for an adult. Like if you're my age and your interests are exactly the same as they were when you were 14, I don't know. I think that should maybe cause you to reflect a tad. Am I off base there? Um, So it says somebody says he doesn't understand sports. How do you not understand? I mean, I'm not, how do you not understand sports? I mean, you can't. So you're telling me if you sat and watched a basketball game, you wouldn't understand it? Like, I'm not even sure what that means. I mean, obviously, it's not an intellectually rigorous exercise, although you can sort of intellectualize it in a way. I think there's actually a very fascinating intellectual component to tennis. I used to play tennis. Not that I was particularly good, but like the geometry and the physics, it's there is a fascinating aspect of it. But for the most time, if I'm consuming sports, it's for pure entertainment, and it's because I'm just trying to tune out of the other stuff going on in life. All right, people, we're getting down a weird path here in this chat. I hope you enjoyed my pancake rant. I hope you enjoyed my scold at whatever Robert Burger King loser. Please stop going around downplaying the pandemic. I'm not going to answer the super chat about my personal romantic life. Nobody needs to know about that. And if you put stupidity about the pandemic into this chat, into my Twitter feed, or if you email it or DM it to me, I'm going to call you an idiot. I have done it many times. And you're not just an idiot, you're dangerous. Because you're contributing to a continuing widespread refusal on the part of people who need to hear the message properly to actually take adequate precautions. I mean, do you want to be quarantined for the next 18 months? I don't really want to be. So do the bare minimum in preventing that outcome and stop putting nonsense into YouTube chats. Okay, Burger King man? I might just go to Wendy's just to spite you. All right, goodbye.